Anybody ever done drum brakes?
No,
No? Ever seen them? Ever
Yeah.
touched them?
not
Ever
really.
tasted them?
No.
No?
Bless.
Guys, the NFL is different. QBs and centers, they're closer. That's why Old Spice Total Body Deodorant is.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here. Today I'm going to show you how to change out your drum shoes. The cool thing is that drum brakes are pretty much similar on most vehicles. I did a drum brake job, and I'll put that video up in that corner. You can either click on that video, or there's a link in the description. And the drum brakes for that car are a little bit different, but I mean, it's the same concept. The main differences are just where the springs are located, but everything else is pretty much similar. So let's get started. We're going to go through a parts list, and then we're going to go through a tool list right now, so you know what you need to fix this. I'm going to use all normal tools, no special tools, so that anybody who gets stuck in their driveway or something could change this. You don't need any special tools. So here are the brake parts that you're going to need. You're going to need your 2 shoes, comes with a clip. You're going to need a brand new adjusting wheel. We're going to do a complete brake renovation. You're also going to need different springs and stuff. It comes in a kit, so you can just ask for the spring kit and adjuster wheel kit for your car.
Okay, normally, when you replace brake shoes, it's a good idea to buy the hardware kit. They're cheap, they're like $3-4. You get all the new springs, all that stuff, okay? Sometimes the springs get weak, sometimes you lose them when you're taking it apart, so good idea to get the spring kit, okay?
And those are all the parts that we need. Now for the tools, you're just going to need a wire brush to clean off the brakes, needle nose pliers for most of the springs, and a flathead screwdriver. You will also need some brake clean spray, don't forget about that. So everything's pretty much where it's supposed to be, it's just a little mangled. You can see the spring is here, the brake adjuster, the parking brake are connected here, and the adjustment wheel is back there. You can see the other springs connected. Here's where one clip goes, and here's where the other clip goes, which holds the brake pad in. I'm not going to take a picture this time. Last video I said you should take a picture of the top and take a picture of the bottom and see where the springs are. That's for a complicated spring setup. This spring setup only has like 2 springs, which is really easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out on the ground with the new stuff. Since we're laying it out on the floor with all the new parts, what we want to do is try to find things that separate the 2 brake shoes. Here are the 2 brake shoes. So you can see that this brake shoe has this clip here that you're going to put the adjustment wheel clip on. And so that's going to be right here, like that. So we're going to put that down. This brake shoe has the hole here that's going to have the stud for the emergency brake. So that means that's going to sit like that. And you can see that this edge right here looks like the edge that's in here. And the bottom edge here looks like the bottom edge that fits in here. So that's going to go like that. And this one's going to go like that. And these are on the correct sides. So now we're going to go put these down. So here's the spring. This is the spring on the bottom here. So I'm going to place that on the bottom here, so I know where that goes. You can see that's where the pins, hats, and springs that hold the brake pads in place sit. They go right here. You can see the mark. Hopefully on yours it's not messed up like this, so I mean you would just look and see that's where the piece is. So we'll put those right on there. Like that. Then we have this, which connects that. So we're going to get the adjustment brake kit now, which is in the bag, and start putting that together. So that's going to end up going right over here. So now we have this piece, which is set up like that. We're going to place that right here. This is set up like this. If you look behind here, you can see that's how that looks. And on the end of this goes this piece. So it looks exactly like that. And that we're going to put right down here. And that's pretty much all the pieces. So you can see this is a very simple setup. We have all the springs laid out in the correct places. We have the setup the same. If you want, you should take a picture of the old brake drums. That'll help you out just in case you mess up. If worse comes to worse, you look on the other side. The other side is the same thing except reversed. But we have this laid out nice and neat, and you'll be able to put it right back together. This is going to be a simple job. So now we'll start the disassembly. Make sure you're wearing your eye protection because these springs could just fling out. got one shoe off. Now this shoe here has the emergency brake connection to it. On the back of here, you can see that there's a clip that you unbend, and this emergency brake arm will pop right off, and then you won't have to undo it from down here. That's what we're gonna do. So you can see this clip right here. Get a screwdriver and just get it in there and turn it. And you can see it's opening up. The clip's garbage, so you're not gonna reuse it. You get new ones with the kit. So don't be afraid to break it.
Thank you. So he left on that bottom spring, and he took that off last after he took off that shoe. Is that the right step? I thought you had to take off both of the springs at the same time, but no?
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
So the last ones you wanna take off are the ones that actually hold the shoes on with the little pins that go in there. Okay? So, everybody does it a little bit different. This is just basic. A lot of times that little star wheel adjuster thing is on the bottom. This is that particular one's on the top, but they do the same thing. They work the same way. It's just a different location for it, but. So, there's gonna be a park brake over on one of the brake shoes. This one happens to be on the left as you're looking at it. Some of them are on the right. But they're gonna have some sort of clip that holds that, because that park lever connects to one of the brake shoes. So when you pull the park brake, all it does is it mechanically pulls the shoes toward the drum and stops the car, rather than with the hydraulics through the wheel cylinder, okay? Does the same thing just through the cable.
Notice that underneath the clip is a washer, so you want to put this underneath the new clip that you put in. There we go. And now, this should come off. There we go. Look at that. Okay, so this is still connected, as you can see. So there's no more extra work to try to get this down here back on. You can see down here how there's a spring here and an end here. This is really hard to get on and off. So since we're keeping this on, we won't have to worry about that. We're gonna wanna sand this because it is rusty, and we'll just make it look nice and also prevent any binding in the future. Good, everything is off now. Now we're gonna go clean this. One thing to keep in mind, I have the old setup with the springs and everything in the right location as well as the new setup. This is just to make sure, double check, so you could be sure that you know where everything goes. The hardest part is knowing where things go. There's nothing difficult about this job. So you're gonna take your brake clean and spray it, then take a metal wire brush and just go through and clean everything up. There's points on here that you can actually see, they're kind of orange. Here, here, and down here. And then same thing on the other side, here, here, and then down here. These points you want to make sure you get nice and clean. That's where the brake shoe rubs against this back plate here. Some people like to grease this. I'm not completely sure greasing it is the best idea, because when the brake dust builds up, the grease collects it, and then it doesn't necessarily help with the movement. So I try to clean these really well. It's up to you whether or not you want to grease them. I've had better luck with no grease. What might work better is anti-seize, and that'll prevent the metal from sticking. And you just put the anti-seize only a little bit on here, and also it's not a bad idea to put anti-seize on here. This will prevent your brake drum from sticking. Between sanding and using the wire brush, got everything cleaned out pretty good.
Ron, do you recommend that?
What's that?
I'm actually gonna
Anti-seize?
On these brake
Yeah.
shoe pads?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit though,
Not
okay?
grease.
A little bit goes a long way.
Not grease, like he said.
Yeah, NSCs would be better. That's what I would use.
replace this. You don't need to replace these unless if they're leaking. This one isn't.
It's not a bad idea to replace these wheel cylinders. It's easy to do.
Now, should you, because I know with some repairs, they say, well, if you're replacing this, you might as well do this.
Mhm.
So is that the same case?
Not a bad idea to replace the wheel cylinder. If it hasn't had the brakes done in a long time, maybe the brake fluid's not in that good a shape, that'd be a good idea to replace the wheel cylinder. Again, they're cheap. You probably get, I think the last wheel cylinder I bought was less than $10. they're very cheap, they're easy to replace, and it just ensures that it's gonna work right. You know, again, it's not a have-to, but it's not a bad idea, especially for, you're already there and they're cheap. Just like the spring kit, you know, buy that hardware kit, you know, you can get all the springs for probably $5. Why not, right?
I'm leaking, but I just don't feel like dealing with it. It's a $10 piece. Once I put everything back together, this should last another 100,000 miles. The car has 280,000 miles. I'm never gonna wanna touch this again. But I'll put a link in the description, and I'll also put a video up in the top corner here. Just click on the video if you wanna see how to replace these.
Can we watch that
So
after
next time you
this?
see the screen.
What's
it's
that?
gonna
Can we
have a
watch
new
that
one of
after
these.
this one?
What?
I didn't hear you.
Can we watch that video after this one?
Yeah.
New brakes on there. So now we're gonna take our parking brake piece and put it on the correct shoe. So this shoe right here. So this is gonna end up like that. So what we're gonna wanna do is first put on your first washer. We'll take our brake shoe, put that on. Another washer. And then take this little C clip here and push that on. Put that on like so. I like to crimp the ends. Like that. And you can see that it'll fit in right here. Now we're going to secure this with the pin. You can see there's the hole. The pin will go through the hole like that. Find the slot in the head there. Then you take your spring and your hat. And now you need a pliers. Take the needle in those pliers. Push it and then turn.
That looks like that's the
Just
hardest
like that.
part.
How this works is
What's that?
That looks like that's the hardest part, the most difficult part, is to
Wait.
get that on there and turn it.
Actually, it's really easy. They make a special tool for this, but you don't have to have it. The special tool fits right over that, and you can just push it on there and turn it. Just like a screwdriver handle, only the end of it looks like that. Really, really simple to do, honestly. Drum brakes are not hard. Sometimes they look complicated and you're like, oh shit, you know, but again, they're not hard. Good idea to take a picture of it before you take it apart. And,
the
Go on,
pin here
follow.
has a head on it that only fits in one direction. So when you push it, the spring pushes down and it fits in. And then you turn the whole spring mechanism and it pulls out and it locks. So now we're going to take our other brake shoe, do the same thing. Take our pin, push it in, put our brake up on here. Spring, get our hat. Obviously, if you have the tool, this is cake. But if you don't have the tool, needle nose pliers works.
So when you're replacing the rear brakes, you're getting
That.
the entire new
Nice and-
shoe, like the entire thing, or is it like something you put on the back of the shoe?
oh, you
I've
get an
never done
entire,
that.
you get an
Drum
entire
brakes.
new brake shoe.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, both. And remember, there's a front and a back of
Yeah.
primary and secondary, so don't mix the shoes up. Yeah.
Got you.
Easy. No special tools required. So now we're just going to make sure that our shoes are sitting in here properly, which they are. And they're also in here properly, which they are. They just slide right in, you can see.
It doesn't look
And we'll
like you
start putting
can
the
switch though.
hardware on, and then we're done. So we have
What's that?
It doesn't look like you can switch though.
One's bigger than the other.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, even if you tried, you couldn't get it.
Most of the time, you can't get it backwards, but some of them you actually could. So, yeah, just make sure you got, because, again, the linings are usually different. The primary shoe is gonna be shorter lining than the secondary shoe, which is gonna be the back one, toward the back of the vehicle, but. And then lastly, you typically put the adjuster in there and then you're just gonna rotate that out until it gets, till the shoes get to the right spot where they just barely touch the drum when you rotate it, and they should work just
You have a
fine.
brake adjuster. It's going to be laid out like this. This bigger gap goes onto the brake shoe, and this smaller gap goes onto this right here. So this fits in just like that.
See where that says
And the
R
spring
on
will
it?
be pulled in,
Yeah.
and then this.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so obviously that's gonna be on the right side of the vehicle, okay? The other one's gonna have an L on it.
allows it to open up. So that's how that works. Let's put this on. So this just goes into the brake pad right over here. Leave that. Our adjuster goes on here. We'll put our right here. That also slips in down there, so you can see it's on here, and it's also fitting in right in there, and it's also fitting onto the brake shoe itself. And then now all that needs to happen is we pull this spring into that hole, just like the original. Make sure you have eye protection on when you do this. Make sure this is set up good. And we'll just pull really hard. Just like that. As you can see, that is in there good. The spring's in the right position. It's in the spot here. This is correctly in the brake adjuster, and this is sitting on the start wheel correctly. And to check that, you just take your screwdriver, go in the back. You can see that hole back there. Take your screwdriver in there, and then turn this wheel here. You want to turn it and hear those clicks. Those clicks mean that this adjuster is done correctly. And then this piece right here is sitting right up against the gear, which is correct. So what happens is every time you hit the brakes, or some cars you have to go in reverse and hit the brakes, this will self-adjust and push it out further for when these wear down. So that's how that works. And then now look, one thing left, the spring. And then this spring, very simple. You snake it behind everything here, and you watch it pop out over here. There you go, like that. And then this has to connect right there. And then we're done. There we go. That spring is in. That spring is correctly seated. These are good. That's correctly seated. And that's how you change drum brakes. There we go. So you can see, this is actually set perfectly. You can turn it, and there's a little bit of resistance. That's exactly what you want. So this I don't have to set. If yours doesn't have any resistance, you just go in the back and turn that adjuster wheel with the flathead screwdriver, and it'll become tighter. So we just did a brake overhaul. If you liked the video, click like.
Okay, so there's another one where he does the entire job. If you guys wanna watch that one. I'm not sure which one it is, though. I've seen it before. It might be this one.
I think it was that one because that's the one that was linked on that video.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Introducing the new Cantina Chicken Crispy Taco, only at Taco Bell.
Why are Volkswagen doors tested 100,000 times by a machine? Because if humans did it, it would take a long.
Today we're going to be working on the rear brakes of a 2001 Mazda V3000 or Ford Ranger. And these are rear drums, so I'm going to teach you how to change rear drums. And this drum change will go and work for most any car that has drums. So it's very helpful. So what you're going to need to change the rear drums are some new drum shoes. You're going to need a new drum itself. I might use the rotor and drum interchangeably as we do this drum stick. It's a drum. You know, some pliers, different types of pliers would be good to grab the spring. A nice long screwdriver. And see, in here, when you rub your finger down the edge, it's all grooved and messed up. You can feel these grooves. It's not smooth. There's a nice deep groove right here. That means these rotors are shot. So you
It's
need
a
to get
drum.
a new rotor. And now we have the whole brake
Sarah
system
says, I
here.
mean drum.
Let's get it inside shot. So see what we're looking at. Here's the piston that pushes the two heads or shoes out. So these shoes go that way and that way against the edge of this. That's how these brakes work. So first thing we're gonna do is inspect everything, and we're gonna take a picture. And this picture is gonna be very important because these springs, as you can see, they're everywhere. There's a bunch. And you wanna make sure everything's there. You have this adjustment in
See
the
the
back.
adjusters
that
on the
goes
bottom
off
of
the
this
emergency
one.
brake. And I can see something already. Previous owner didn't put that back. Okay, so we're gonna need one of these parts. So just take a picture of it and then print it out, and then you have something to work off of. So you want a picture from right here, and then you want a picture right there. I got my picture of the top and the bottom right here. So here's the top setup, and here's the bottom setup, and now everything is easy. Like there's no challenge to this brake project at all. Anybody can do this. I'm not using any specialized tools. You could use specialized tools, make your life easier, and go out and buy them, but I'm showing you how to do this with regular tools. So the first thing we're gonna do is go and take the top springs apart. So just there's this spring, that spring, and then the emergency brake cable, which is not under tension. You want to make sure that your emergency brake's off. I already stated that, but just double check. And we're going to go take this spring and that spring off right now. So since I'm using regular tools, not the specialized tool, all I'm doing is pushing this part of the spring out, getting a flathead screwdriver underneath, and then prying it off. It might take you a few tries, but you can easily get it done.
So if you actually have the spring tool, you can just stick it on there and just turn it. It grabs the spring and releases it. So he's doing it the hard way, but you can do it without the special tools.
How much does the special tool go for?
There's really only two of them. The spring tool for these, and then the one that holds the shoe through those little pins that go through the backing plate. You can probably get both of them for, $20.
That's it?
They're cheap, yeah,
Ah,
very cheap.
And so what we'll do is, since we have the picture,
But like I said, the spring tool makes it so easy, because you just put it on there, turn it, it's got a little hook on
So I'll
it,
put the spring
and it'll just
exactly
hook
where it
the
is on
spring and pull it off.
They're color coded,
And the other side of that same tool puts them on.
just to be extra safe, because everything about this.
I should have brought those in, because I got some, I should have brought them in to show you. Yeah, what'd you say?
Where do you buy your pot, like your tools?
Where do you buy the tools?
Where do you buy
Lots of different places.
No, he's saying, where do you buy your tools?
Depends on what it is.
them?
You have a toolbox?
What's that?
You have a toolbox at home?
Pretty sure he does.
I have 4 of them.
Where did you buy them from?
Well, since I've been buying them for almost 50 years, everywhere you can think of. Off of all the tool trucks, the Snap-on truck, the Macco truck, Mac tool, all of them.
One time at Land Rover.
I've even got Harbor Freight tools. I mean, I've got them from everywhere. So, it doesn't really matter where you get them, it just depends on what you're gonna do with it. If it's something you're gonna use every day, and it's gotta be good, and it's gotta last, you're probably gonna wanna spend the money for a good one. But some tools, it doesn't matter where you buy them, because they're just, you don't use them that often, and the quality's good enough for even everyday use, so.
Yeah, because one time a Land Rover tool truck came in, it was like, I forgot what it's called. But a tool truck came in, we had like a whole toolbox, we had a whole set in there, like tools, gun, air gun,
Mhm.
drills, everything. You know,
probably Snap-on.
It wasn't a Snap-on,
Mac,
it was
it's either Mac, Snap-on, or
What
Corvo.
was that? It came out every Tuesday. Remember?
What color was it?
Mac, I think so. It was Mac. It was an all orange toolbox. It had orange tools and everything.
Mac.
Yeah, I think it was Mac. So it was only for like $350. I was like, wow, good deal.
Somebody did a trade-in.
Well, here's the deal, in case you didn't already know that, you're gonna get tools with this class.
Yeah, I know, but
You're gonna get the tool cart, the tools, the whole thing. You're getting $5,000 for tools.
I've already seen like everything. They give you a lot of shit.
They did.
They give you good shit too.
I saw the
And
cart
it's,
too, the
and,
cart is
and
not bad,
that's
that cart's
come,
pretty nice.
that's part of the class. You
It's
guys-
pretty
you
large,
guys-
too.
You guys,
Yeah, it's a
you,
nice
you won't
size.
get them until you go to work, just so you know,
Yeah.
because some of the students, they never went to work anywhere. I'm not
Can I
giving them
get
their
their
tools.
tools?
You're not just gonna take them home and sell them, you know what I'm saying?
Can I have their tools?
No.
I know, I was thinking that too.
So, anyway, as soon as you go to work somewhere, I'll arrange for you to get them picked up. They're all at the Cadillac dealer. That's where we store them,
Okay.
okay? So,
Is
again,
there some bill?
sometimes we have surplus because some of the students end up not going to work or just whatever, deciding that's just not what I wanna do or whatever. I'm not giving them their tools. So, okay? So that's the way that works, but you will get a set.
Two things. One, it's random and off topic. Well, not really off topic, but last week, when I was at the dealership, a Mac Tools truck
Mhm.
came up,
Mhm.
and the guy that I was working with, he went up there to go see, cause he told him last week that he had a toolbox, and he'd give him like a 30% discount on it. And he ended up, paying for it, but it was at his house, so he came back later that day when I wasn't there to drop it off in his truck. But while he was talking and everything, I asked him like what the little spinner wheel was. He was like, "Oh, it's whenever people, they buy something, they get tickets. If they want to buy more tickets, they can. You can either double it, triple it, or quadruple it." I was like, "I just spin it just because I'm bored." He was like, "If you land on either one of the double, triple, or quadruple, you can take some from the truck." And he like showed me a little section where I can grab some. I landed on triple, and he gave me this it's a cool little multi-tool. It's in my car, but.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a cool little Mac multi-tool. It has like Allen wrenches, a screwdriver,
nice.
a flathead, a knife, bottle opener. That's all that on
One,
there.
one thing cool about the tool trucks is they come to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to go chase the tools
They
down.
come up there every single day
Yeah.
down there.
Every
Yeah.
week, every
Yeah,
week.
most of the way the tool dealers work is, let's say you're at, a dealer and the Snap-on truck comes in there on Wednesday. He's gonna be there every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And some dealers are there every Monday or whatever. They typically trade off. Sometimes they end up 2-3 different, people on the same day, but for the most part, they try to mix the days up. But
Yeah.
The Snap-on lady gives out donuts.
yes, she does.
She brings, and they're good too.
I need to talk to the Snap-on
What's
lady.
one thing I wish about
On my second.
So, the other thing about it is, you can just go on the tool truck and, say, I want this and this and this and this, whatever, right? And, just give them a few bucks a week. You don't pay for it all at once. And they don't charge you interest on it. So if you buy $200 of tools, you're only paying the $200, you're not paying the interest on it. The only time that happens is if you want a lot of stuff. Then the tool
credit.
dealer won't carry you on that.
Yeah.
They'll hook you up with
The credit.
some sort of finance, so they call it an incentive credit type of thing. So you still pay them, but then they pay the company.
And then
So-
there's interest on that though.
Right,
There's
right,
interest
that
on that.
that becomes a loan.
Yeah.
But if you just get a few $100, even, I don't know, most tool dealers will carry the guys up to, I don't know, whatever,
It
$600,
depends on their
$700,
relationship
$1,000
too.
bucks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just pay them every week when they come in, give them $40, whatever, so they're good with that.
Yeah.
And then my other thing, it's mainly to everyone else. But while I was looking at the tools, they don't give you like cheap shit. Like it's really good tools. Like Blue Point. Blue
Yeah.
Point was like the
Yeah,
best tools you can get before Snap-on bought it. And it still is about pretty fucking good. But
yeah, so, yeah, you're gonna.
they give you some nice stuff.
And the thing is, how can you go wrong for free?
Yeah. Regardless of
It's not like you're paying for them.
Exactly.
You know?
The best part is, if you break it, you have lifetime warranty, so it's just gonna be.
That's the other thing. If you break a tool, they give you a new one for free.
Sometimes they have specials like Cornwell, when I was at my with my shop before I moved out here, they had it to where if you buy a toolbox, you get $1,000 worth of tools for free.
Oh,
So I
nice.
got a toolbox and I got $1,000 worth of tools for free.
Wow.
The toolbox was $3,000.
Hmm.
And it was a really nice, it flipped up and had the sides for the breaker bars. I mean, it had 4 drawers on it. I mean, it was really nice. It was really nice. And it locked, double locked. has lights on it, charging ports, your extra plugs and everything.
You still got it?
It's in storage.
Trying to sell it?
If you're willing to drive to North Carolina to get it.
You get a good discount on it.
That's a problem.
I got friends out there. I'll have him pick it up and ship it to me. I'm so serious. I'm so serious with you.
But yeah, sometimes they'll do that too, on the trucks where they have deals and specials, so.
Yeah.
But, like I said before, it's easy to get into debt, just be careful. Cause you don't need
Yep.
everything at once.
Yeah.
You don't.
You're gonna want all this
North
stuff,
Carolina, 'cause
but
he lives in
just, yeah,
Charlotte.
just get it as you need it, don't go crazy, okay?
That's
Cause you'll
not
have
too
enough to
far.
get you
That's
started
2 hours.
just from what you get with the class, so.
I'm gonna talk to you.
No.
You just get tools first, like, work, and then whatever you need, just buy it through time, like.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So, like,
right,
you work
right,
on, you work on this, you always borrow from him, or at work, just
right,
go buy it.
right. The typical rule is if you have to borrow the same tool from
More than
somebody
twice.
more than 2 times.
need it.
You better just buy it, cause obviously you're gonna use it a lot, you need it, okay? And what if that person's not around, or they're not there that day, and, you know, and you need it?
Or
You
if you
know,
break
it's just
their
a, it's just a, it's
tool,
just a
lose
waste
their
of time.
tools.
Then you
Something
gotta
just
go
happened.
start asking for somebody else.
So literally, again, that same thing just happened last week. So you know, in the oil filters, like they have like the clamp one where it has the 3
Right.
little prongs to clamp on there. When they're really tight, they have the cup one where you
Mhm.
put on the bottom. Alex, the kid that I told you about that I grew up with that works there, he let him use it, and then he came back Friday because he's off on Thursdays. He came back Friday. He's like, "Where's it at?" He was like, "Oh, it should be in your drawer. It's not in his drawer. It's not on the top." He left it unlocked just so we can put it back in his drawer. You know, everything like that. He's like, "Oh, it's not there." They spent like 30 minutes looking for it. I'm over here changing oil. I look in the oil tank thing, whatever the oil
The
can.
pot.
Yeah, that.
Oh.
It's in one of the
Left it in
pockets.
there?
And I walked up to Alex. I was like, "This it?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Here, take it. Just act like you're still looking for it." For like the next 2 hours, he's over here looking for it. We're telling him like, "Man, if you can't find it, you gotta buy him another one." He's sitting here like his face like all smug. I didn't care because I grew up with him. I knew he wouldn't get mad about it.
Yeah.
But Alex was like, "Just tell him." I was like, "No. I mean, why would I do that?" And he was a little mad, but he didn't care. It was kind of fun. But yeah, people lose shit, and just might as well get your own.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Sorry, quick question.
You got a what
I
now?
got a really quick question.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So when you buy tools from the tool truck, you have a warranty, but if you lose that, is that still part of the
No,
warranty?
you lose it,
Or
you
you
lose
just
it.
lose it?
Oh, yeah. That's the only thing the warranty doesn't cover.
You lose it?
If you lose something, you're buying it again, yeah.
Now, what if I say I broke it, but just threw it away because there was no
Nope.
point?
No,
If you-
you gotta
Gotta
give
show
me
it
the old
to
one.
me.
Mhm.
Gotta give me the old one. They're on to that stuff.
Be careful when you're taking the springs off, they're under high tensile, and they can spring back, so always hold them with the pliers or something. Maybe even wear something on your, like goggles or something. Okay, so what you just saw, I just took off the emergency brake piece. That comes off, the spring comes off, and so we got the springs off on the top. That's excellent. So we got the springs off, take these up here. Place them down. So everything's off on the top. Now we need to go underneath and take stuff off from under here. So, as I said, I'm just laying it out the way everything was. But now we're going under here, and we're gonna go take off these springs, and then we'll be able to unscrew or unfasten this to take the whole pads off. So let's go underneath. So under here it's a lot simpler. Depending on which side you're on, which side your parking brake is on, your parking brake assembly could be on both tires or it could be on one. In this case, it is on both, and this adjusts. So when you press on the parking brake, this pushes up and moves this dial here. If you can, spin this so that it's completely closed, so then the springs aren't under such tension. they're still gonna be on enough tension that you're gonna have to pull pretty hard. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm gonna pop this off, take the spring out. This one big spring in the back. Pop that off. We could keep the emergency brake one on right now, and we could take the whole pads off. So I'm gonna show you how to take, now you're gonna take the shoes. I call them shoes, call them pads. We're gonna take them off by undoing these clips here. There should be, see how this is a spring-loaded clip? There should be one of those there, and one where this bolt is. The last owner put a bolt there, I guess, to hold it in place. I guess that's why the brakes wore down so quick. But now that I'm doing the brake job, I wanna do it right. So we're gonna replace these. But to get this off, they have a tool for it, or you can just use pliers. And all you do, if you zoom in here, you can actually feel the pin around the back of the rotor. And you hold the pin down, and you push in with your pliers to compress the spring. So use a needle nose, compress it, and then you want to try to spin this inside pin. Just watch your face here. Okay, this is going to come out. And be careful because this whole brake assembly could come off. So, I'm going to take this pin out. Oh, this is the setup. And this is, it looks like a nail almost, but this nail has a flat head. And it only fits in one way. So it'll fit in like that. And then you turn it, and now it won't come out. So when you put pressure on the spring, you want to turn this, and then pull out. Like that. That's how you get that off. And there's one on each side. One here, and one should be right there. So it'll look exactly the same, just like that. And you want to take these off. Both those spring retainers out. All you have to do, kind of pull apart. So I'm not blocking it. You just take off one pad at a time. Things are going to fall off. Don't get nervous. We'll figure out how to get back on really easily just by looking at the picture. So then the emergency brake is still attached here. And you can see the spring right here. Okay, so all you have to do is take this spring off and get this on off before. Apply that down. So for the emergency brake, you just take a pliers. Tell you the truth, it'd probably just be better to bend it back like that. And just wiggle it out. Okay, so now here's the emergency brake. So here's an exploded view of everything. You can see our springs on the top. You can see the orientation of these drums. These smaller drum, or the smaller rotor pads. You can see this side actually smaller, it's shorter, not as much surface area. That's towards the front of the car.
So wait, for this one,
Retaining clip
he
here,
left that.
and it would also be on
Left
the
what?
side
He
here.
left the parking brake
That's why
on.
you
Yeah,
have this
yeah.
built kit.
He might take it off, but we'll see.
in
But
there.
remember how the other one, he took it,
He took.
This
He
yeah.
left. No. Yeah. He took it off here. He left it on the other one.
across,
Maybe it was
Yeah, he
still
left
pretty
it
good.
on this
Yeah.
little stud right here.
I wasn't here for the entire video last time, so
They
I
come-
can't put
it
much
comes in
input on
the kit.
this.
With the brake pad.
Did he do that because this one is a different setup and has more springs?
So we're gonna have to put that in the new one.
Possibly.
And the new ones, and you can see how much more meat there are on these new ones compared to the old ones. So let's get cracking. Let's put the new ones back on. One thing I forgot to mention, you need some brake clean. I didn't mention that in the parts that you'll need. And you want to use this stuff a lot. You want it everywhere. It cleans everything out. Get it on everything. It would help if you had a wire brush, and then you just brush away all this stuff. Unfortunately, I left my wire brush in my toolkit, which is not here right now, so I'm just going to use paper towel and maybe a screwdriver or something just to chip away at all this gunk. I've been cleaning away at this using a screwdriver. You should use a wire brush to get all this stuff off. You don't want anything in here because then it'll fall and the drum brake's kind of enclosed, and then your new brakes will get pieces of gunk. I mean, look at all that. That's like harder pieces of brake and metal, and you don't want to ruin your new brakes. So get this nice and as clean as you can, and then we'll start on the assembly. One of the pieces we're going to have to transfer is this emergency brake holder thing. You see, it slides open like that. So what we do is we take that cotter pin,
You guys aren't sleeping back here, are you?
or the
Sure?
C
How about
pin,
you?
whatever it's called, and you want to
Good?
open it up.
Alright,
So
So
Ron,
wait
on
to get
this
this
one,
pin
you
open,
left
because this pin
the
moves pretty
parking
freely,
brake
so you can't
on.
just
Did
stick a
he do
screwdriver in
that?
and twist. So what I'm doing is
Lever's gonna stay
just
with the
grabbing
car.
it with a pliers of some sort,
did he take it off this
And,
time?
Yeah.
and then I
Okay,
take,
well, you
so
can't
now it
undo
doesn't move, and I take my screwdriver,
Did he
And I
do that
twist.
because this is a different
Like
setup
that.
with all the
So now-
spring and it has more spring?
now it's nice and wide.
I'm
now,
not sure why you did
just
it, but you can take it off
pop this
of the
off.
vehicle completely. You just have to, squeeze that spring and use something to hold it.
Just
to
like
get
this.
the,
Don't damage
Mark
this,
brake
you want to use it,
lever
because
off
this
of
is gonna be reused. Good, so now this is popped off, this is gonna come right off,
yeah, he did take it
and
off.
you're gonna wanna clean this off. So let's get the new pads. Here are the old ones, the larger one is towards the back, smaller one towards the front. And you can see there's also a rounded part and a square part. So this is how our new one's gonna be set up. Like this. Be careful with your new pads, you don't want to bang them around too much. And like that. I'm actually gonna replace this, might as well, a little bent. It came with the brake rebuild, spring rebuild kit, or whatever, so I'm gonna replace it. You don't have to, but get a nice new one of those, right there. And remember I was talking about the spring and hat setup here. And there's only one. Well, I'm gonna replace both of them. You always wanna replace everything that's the same. And I'm gonna go to the other side and replace them too. So I have nice new ones. We're gonna go and put the pieces on that we took off, which are the emergency brake holder, this thing, and that's gonna go on the back of this. And we could use our sheet for reference, okay? So you can see, right there is that C-clip, which is at the top of this, right there. So we're gonna put this facing this direction and here, like that. That's how that goes. And then we're gonna take our little clamp here, hold this in, and then push the clamp, push that in. Good. So now that's in. Make sure it's in all the way. And then personally, I'm going to crimp this. I'm not gonna have to change these brakes for a while. So just close it down. That's not going anywhere. Make sure it spins freely. It's crimped. Okay, that's good. So we have that done. Now we keep looking at what we had here. So remember there's that spring. So here's the bottom. This is the whole bottom setup.
Oh, no.
There's that spring holder. It looks like this. I'll get it out. So this spring holder is on, here's the old pad, you can see it right there. This is the big pad, and you can see it is located right here, just like that. So we're going to want to press that in. So to press this, just put it in the hole. I want to make sure this side's facing, let me show you the right way. So this piece, you can see, has a knobbed spot at the top and a flat spot at the bottom. That flat spot goes in the last hole on the bottom here. Just use your picture for reference in case your brake's different. And I'm going to try to push this in. Just make sure you get this pressed in all the way, just like that, nice and pressed. And so we just added all the pieces that were on the old brake shoes. So now we're gonna actually mount them to our assembly here. So I'll show you how to do that. Before we actually mount the drum shoes onto the assembly, we want to get this emergency brake holder on. So how this is going to look is you want it to be like this. And twist. There we go. Just like that. We're gonna go put our retaining spring, the new one, and pin. So in the back, there's a hole. There's only one hole, and the pin goes through. And you can see the pin just went through. Pin's right there, so the pin's through. You want to make sure that your brake piston is connected here. But it just slides on. It's like a fork, and it goes right in. That's easy. And then I'm going to show you how we get the spring on. So, take the spring and the head. There's your spring, there's your head, and you want to align it. And you get your pliers or your tool. Tool would definitely be a lot easier. There we go. Now that's locked in place. That's holding this whole thing. And so let's see what it looks like up close. See how that flat part is perpendicular to the narrow part that it slips in? That's stuck. That's not going anywhere. That's what you want. I'll show you what the back looks like. So there's where that pin is that you just hold down with your finger as you push that in. So we just did that without the specialized tool. Let's get the other side on. It goes like this, flat, so it goes up against here. You take a pin and find the hole in the back. Down there, we take this, hold that in place like that. Take our needle nose. Not twist it. You can see, perpendicular. So now the new spring retainers, drum brakes, are on. We can start adding our springs. I say we start at the bottom. So this is our emergency brake adjuster. You can see with the picture up here, looks like that. And what it does is every time you use the emergency brake, it pushes this up and spins it and pushes this out. See how that moves out? Well, we want to make sure this can move all the way out freely, which so far it has, and we want to oil this up so that it does in the future. That's good. It moves out. So we want to, this is all oiled already, closed it down all the way, and that's ready to go. Now we're going to go do this. first thing we could do is get this piece on here. So again, look at your diagram, see how this is.
Ron, will that piece ever need to be replaced?
The adjuster?
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually should have replaced it, but, you know, he did in the other one, but I don't know why he did in this one. Same with the wheel cylinder, but this adjuster will come with a spring kit. Yeah.
Next thing we could do,
Normally they
this
do.
spring, which you can see right here, goes across, so it goes on the top hole, which is up there, and the other top hole.
Sometimes these teeth on this get worn out
So
too,
let's put this in.
so you really should replace that, but not for the purpose of just knowing how to do it.
Pliers, and then pull it, and then that's on. So that, we need to look back and see that we need to get this assembly on, and the spring. So the spring goes on here, in this spot right here, like so. And then we're gonna take this, and this goes on here, and pushes in where the guy is. Like so. So every time you use the emergency brake, this slides up and down and pushes this gear here. This spring that we just put in
Maybe I'll ask that.
wraps around, it snaps in there. And then there's one last step where this is gonna go on here, but we're gonna wait for that. So the bottom is pretty much done, for the most part. We'll come back to it, because we have to add the emergency brake cable. Now we're on to the top, and you can see, you got the yellow spring that way, the green spring that way. So, let's do that now. Let's start with the parking brake setup. And you can see parking brake setup is the last one, so it's the first one we put on. It wraps around. So actually before we even do that, we take this thing, because the parking brake, you see how it rests in there? There's like a groove. The parking brake line goes like this. So you're gonna just take this and then slide that in there, just like that, and just leave it for now. So we're gonna take the parking brake, put that on, run the cable down, and leave that. So now comes the fun part. So I included one of these in the wrenches in the parts list, the tools list I should say, because it's helpful if you do this and you put it on this knob here. So let me zoom in to show you. So you don't actually need to buy that tool, just in case if you don't have it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the spring on here, and you see this knob here, and I'm putting the end of the wrench. This is at 3/8. And you just slide this down, like that. Keep sliding it. Boom.
Wasn't he
Pops
supposed to
right in.
replace that spring?
Perfect. So that,
Wasn't he supposed to replace that spring, or wasn't he going to? Was that in part of the kit?
Yeah. The only reason the two things you replaced, these
it's
little
all set.
ones that hold the shoes,
Oh, okay.
is because if you notice at the beginning of this video, this one on this side was missing.
Mhm.
Somebody put a bolt in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why I didn't buy the whole spring kit again. I don't know.
So the next
Should've.
thing we do, actually, before we do that, I should mention, we should put this back in before it gets too tough with the springs. So this, I said we could leave, but I ended up taking it out because I wanted to take the spring off and clean in here. So you put the spring back on, make sure it sits on these two seats here, doesn't go past. We're gonna look at our diagram, and you see the springs on this side. So it sits like that. Slip this in here. I'm gonna do the spring side first, so you can push in. Good. So that's in like that. So now that that's in, you get the last spring on top in. So this spring goes here. Again, look at your little diagram. Goes in the first hole. And we're going to take our wrench. Little trick. Okay. And just be careful when you're doing this. Put something over the spring so it doesn't go flying.
We've rescued nearly 600 million pounds of surplus fresh food, so it doesn't go to waste.
Cracked windshield on your new car? Bring it to Safeway. My customer was enjoying her new car, but her windshield cracked.
Beautiful. So it goes green, then a yellow, and then parking brake. Now everything's in on the top. And just, look around on the floor, make sure you don't have any more pieces laid out, like the way I showed you they were laid out. And then, so, everything's good. We have that, we have that, we have that. Now we're gonna go parking brake down. Make sure it follows that guide in here. So you see this right here? There's a little guide, good, it's on there. And then, I'm holding it down so you can see the bottom part. According to the picture, that attaches right in there, just like that, on the back side of this. That's how it's set up. Okay? Make sure this is up against here. And then, now I'm going to show you how to get this brake set up. When you're setting up these brakes, for drum brakes, they push outwards. These two pistons here make the brake go that way. And this pushes against the drum, the inside here. See that right there? That is from the piston, and that's not on there right. So I need to take this off now and get that on there right. I just took off the spring. So we're going to slide this back and get this in the proper position. Slide it forward. That's better. See, you always want to double check your work because, something like that would be huge. You would lose so much braking power and you could cause so much damage. So now we're going to just put the spring back on. Everything is ready to roll. Take our new drum, put it on, and spin it. There's very little resistance. Then what you do next, you go under here, and you turn this upwards like that. That opens. Okay? So you want this to open, and then you go back. Put that on. It's a little bit too much resistance. Take it off. Loosen this back down a little bit. So I'm going to go in between. There we go. I can feel a little tiny resistance. That's what you want, just a little bit, but not a lot. So that's it. We just changed the rear drum brakes on a Mazda B3000 Ford Ranger 2001. And this is how a lot of cars are with rear drums. So you're able to follow the same.
Okay. Enough of Chris. Hopefully it'll be a little easier to understand. Let me go through the chapter, so.
I do not recall it saying, oh no, we didn't go through it yet. Never mind, we'll get there. My question will be answered.
Your question will be answered, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, time to get up. All right, where are we at? Right here, right? 103? Yeah? Yeah.
Yes, 103, page 1180.
Okay. You should be familiar with drum brake components by now. Advantages and disadvantages we talked about. There are some disadvantages to drum brakes and some advantages, like everything else. It's got good and bad. Function of vacuum plate wheel cylinders, brake shoes, operation of non-servo brakes. We're going to talk about different ways that the brakes actually work, how one shoe might serve the other one as it's rotating, but, okay. Automatic adjusters, we saw those, could be on the top or could be on the bottom, that's that little star wheel thing. As he was rotating that, all it's doing is it will either expand or contract. And as he's rotating it, it opens and it's just pushing the shoes out a little bit more. Okay? Obviously, if you go too far, the drum won't even fit on it, right? Okay. Drum brakes. First type of brakes used on cars. That's all they used to have years ago. There was no such thing as disc brake. Believe it or don't. They continue to have widespread use on the rear of many automobiles. You will not see them on the front, okay? This is a typical brake system component showing disc on the front, drum on the rear. Okay? Okay. So, I know I asked you this before, but nobody's ever replaced the shoes on a drum brake system? No. Okay.
I don't think I even seen one in real life.
What's that?
Also, I don't think I even seen one. Drum brakes.
Oh, you haven't even seen one? Really?
I mean, I haven't seen
Where they
this
make
one,
the own.
but I've seen.
Yeah, they're not real popular, but I mean, you'll still see them. Again, only on the rear, typically smaller cars.
Yeah,
But-
I've seen them, cause I was confused on like why they're on the caliber.
Yeah, where's the rotor and the caliper, huh?
I
Yeah.
usually see them on like old, small cars, and I'm like,
Yeah,
the customer, that person that's driving is probably messing with it.
yeah, yeah. All right. You should be familiar with most of these parts by now. Again, they're not all exactly the same, but for the most part, they've all got the same parts in them.
Not too hard, the video.
I'm sorry?
The video made like, it was easy.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I like to play some, you know, little informational type videos on certain things. So at least this isn't totally unfamiliar to you. Like, what the hell is all this shit, right? So at least, I think you get a better idea of what's going on as we go through it. Maybe help you understand it a little bit better. This just describes the parts here. It's going to show you how it works. The wheel cylinder pushes the primary shoe out. Servo action from the drum rotation into the adjuster will push the secondary shoe out. And like he said, when you're looking at the drum brakes or when you're doing them, don't take both sides apart at once, okay? And picture's always a good idea. The other thing is, once you get done with one side and you go around to do the other side, it's gonna be the same, only reversed. Like this is gonna be over here and this is gonna be over here, okay? It's gonna be backwards. But it's the same thing, all right? The advantages of drum brakes, self-energizing and servo action. Primary advantage of drum brakes is that they can apply more stopping power for a given amount of force applied to the brake pedal than disc brakes can. Drum brake offers a self-energizing action that helps force the brake linings tightly against the drum. Another advantage is your park brake works a lot better on drum brakes than it does on disc brakes. Okay? They make a very good park brake. Disadvantages, they don't dissipate heat as well. They are prone to brake fade. Brake fade is a loss of stopping power that occurs when excessive heat reduces the friction between the shoe and the lining, or the shoe and the drum, I mean. Another disadvantage is, as sometimes they will need to be adjusted. Some will adjust themselves, some depending on the way that it's set up. Some cars you have to just drive it in reverse, hit the brake a few times, and they kind of self-adjust. But other problem would be brake pull. Not so much on the newer cars, because the drums, if it's got drum brakes, it's just going to be on the rear, so you don't get too much of that brake pull. But on older cars that had four-wheel drum brakes, they were really bad for brake pull. Like you hit the brake and the car would want to go to the right or the left. But you know, the backing plate is the structural part that bolts to the rear axle housing. Serves as a mounting surface for all of the friction assembly parts, shoes, wheel cylinders, all this stuff. The shoe anchors keep the shoes from rotating when the drum when the brakes are applied. So if you think about this, you got two brake shoes here, right? And the drum is rotating. When you apply the brake shoes go out against the drum, right? What's going to want to happen to the brake shoes? They're going to want to spin with the drum, right? Because now they're contacting the drum, right? That anchor pin at the top is what keeps those shoes from rotating with the drum. Okay, it keeps them in place. The piston stop prevents the wheel cylinder pistons from coming out of the bores, and the friction assembly is disassembled for service. The support pads we talked about, those are the ones you should clean up, put a little bit of maybe anti-seize on them. Wheel cylinder is the one on the top, where your hydraulic pressure is transferred from master cylinder to each one of the brake shoes. These are those shoe pad supports, those things. Remember those parts you were cleaning off on there, and you said, hey, you put a little anti-seize on there, or whatever. That's that. But that's actually a structural part where all of the stuff mounts. This is what they call the seal between the lip of the backing plate and the groove in the brake drum. It's just basically supposed to keep water out of there. I know that's kind of a weird drawing probably, but this is the backing plate. This is the brake drum, and you notice the brake drums, you have a little groove all the way around the bottom. So when you put the brake drum on, it forms a seal right here. Keeps the water out of there. Anchor again at the bottom. Seeing the return springs on them. Shoe anchor at the top. Wheel cylinder. Side view wheel cylinder. Operation. Fluid comes in, pushes both of those pistons outward, which applies to brake shoes. Those little push rods were just held in place by those little dust boots. As the cylinder piston moves outward, push rods transfer the movement to the brake shoes. All right, you know what the purpose of the backing plate is, right? Provides a mounting surface for all the friction material, stuff like that. Okay, the linings of the drum brakes are attached to a curved metal assembly, and those are called your brake shoes. The ends of the lining on most brake shoes are tapered to prevent vibration and noise. Curved metal piece on the outside of the shoe is the lining table, the shoe rim or platform. The metal piece of the shoe positioned under the lining is welded to it. It's called the shoe web. We don't have to get too technical with what the shoes are called. We do have a primary and secondary depending on it. Sometimes they'll be called a, what else do they call them? I can't remember. I will get to that. But a lot of times the brake shoes are not the same, so you can't switch them, okay? Primary, secondary, in the dual servo type. Primary shoe is going to face forward. It's going to be the one with the smaller lining on it. And the way they put the lining on the shoe is either riveted or bonded. Bonded means it's glued, riveted means the material is actually riveted to the shoe, okay? Return springs retract the shoes to their unapplied position when you release the brake pedal. The hold downs keep the shoe against the backing plate. Those are the ones springs you have to have the little needle nose pliers with a special tool for. Most brake drum friction assemblies include a park brake linkage. Okay, we saw all of that already, right? In the video. We know about the coefficient of friction, these edge code numbers, letters to tell you what's what on it. Same with your disc brake pads, they'll have the same thing on there. Okay, what he means by when he was talking about bigger shoe, smaller shoe, it's just how far the lining is. You see the secondary shoe has the longer brake lining on it. Pretty obvious when you look at them. Different positions of the friction material, nothing too crazy there. Riveted, it says they are quieter and more reliable at high temperatures. Most of them are riveted, actually. Some of them are bonded. You can tell the difference by what? By looking at the shoe, you can see the holes here where the rivets are. See how that one's completely flat? Use a bonding adhesive on those instead of the rivets. All of the hardware that you're already familiar with from the video. Some of these on the GM trucks will use a single horseshoe looking spring on the brake shoes instead of all of the little ones. So you'll just see this one big one here. So really that's all you have to take off, and the shoe anchors, pins, and the shoes come off on those. Different types of hardware, which we saw most of in the video anyway. All right, this is the non-servo brake design. This one is that each brake shoe is applied individually instead of one kind of helping the other, right? Self-energizing action occurs when the forward or leading shoe contacts the drum and the drum attempts to rotate the shoe along with it. With this type of brake, the vehicle is backing up and then rolls forward, reverse shoes are switched. Okay, we don't have to worry about that. A couple of different types there. Same with that one. Okay. Dual servo brake action. One shoe serves the other to increase application force. All servo brake shoes on automobiles are of the dual servo design with equal force in both directions. Basic dual servo brake uses an anchor and a single 2-piston wheel cylinder, which is pretty common. We saw that in the video as well. Adjusting link is a star wheel. When the dual servo brake is applied, the wheel cylinder attempts to force the tops of both brake shoes outwards against the drum. And that anchor pin prevents the secondary shoe from rotating. The adjuster link serves as the anchor for the primary shoe. That servo action then occurs as part of the braking force generated by the primary shoe, transferred to the adjusting link, helps out the secondary shoe. Okay, that should look familiar, right? Same with your adjuster. So I think, that's not actually gonna show you how that works, is it? Dual servo action greatly increases application force of the secondary shoe. Okay. Okay, your automatic adjuster, your star wheels, they can be cable, lever, or link. All three will mount on the secondary brake shoe and will adjust only when the brakes are applied and the vehicle is moving in reverse. Non-servos are used on brakes that you mount on either the leading or trailing shoe. That's what I was trying to think of. You'll have a leading or trailing shoe or a primary secondary shoe. We saw the cable actuated star wheel on the video. That was the same type he used. That's just a different type of lever. Same with that. Notice that the adjuster actually moves the star wheel. Cable actuated, we saw that one too in that first video. Non-servo brake with a lever actuated star wheel, automatic adjuster on the leading shoe. This one makes the adjustment as the brakes are applied. Not have to worry about all these adjusters. It gets pretty boring when you start talking about all this different kind of stuff, right? You're like, okay, well, who cares, right? Okay. Some of this gets a little too technical in my opinion. A lot of this stuff is like, okay, do you really need to know that? Meh. I'm sorry. They still do on some cars, even on newer cars, but again, it's only gonna be in the back, right? Oh. Okay,
Identify the parking brake strut in this illustration. B.
B is park brake strut, all right.
On non-servo brakes, which shoe does most of the parking? No, sorry. Most of the braking and during forward movement of the vehicle.
Yeah, okay, so on this one, so, there.
Let's see. Nope.
A,
Yep. Remember, depending on, if it's a servo type brake, it's got a primary, secondary. If it's not, it has a leading, trailing. Leading would be the primary shoe, trailing would be the secondary shoe. Okay.
That's right.
Which lining does most of the parking on the dual servo brake? I think it's C, both contribute equal.
I was confused on that
See it.
because it says on here, the secondary brake shoe provides approximately 70% of the total braking power in a dual servo brake.
Mhm.
But the way they describe it is like you point at it, rotate it, and it says rearward or facing forward. So I don't know when it says rearward, if it's saying like if it's on the rear part or if it's on the front part. Because if it's rearward facing rear, it could be this one. It's like the way it's shaped.
Rearward facing
that
shoe is
way.
always gonna be the secondary shoe.
So that's always gonna be okay.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, I was overthinking it. So
Yeah, that's all right. It happens.
I got it, but I knew what I was, but I was wrong on it.
All right. Number 4.
Definition A says several thresholds on most geometry work when the brake are applied to the reduced while traveling in reverse. Definition B says some of the brake can be adjusted if the brake arms are hot. Is it B?
Mm-hmm. It is. Brake drums are hot, they're gonna grow a little bit, right? And if they're self-adjusting themselves, they could over-adjust.
what was 3 again?
Not really something to worry about.
B.
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 It was B, okay. Make sure.
Number 5,
Yeah, 5.
vision A, I know it. C.
C, yeah, uh-huh. That labyrinth seal prevents water from getting into the brake drum. You can use synthetic brake grease, lithium grease, or anti-seize compound as a brake lubricant for those pads on the backing plate where the shoe contacts. Okay.
Dual servo braking system. Which shoe does most of the braking during forward movement on the vehicle? B.
Mm-hmm.
Holes may be provided in the backing plate for inspecting brake lining wear, true.
Okay.
With dual servo brakes, blank action uses drum rotation to force the brake shoe outward and wedge it tightly against the brake drum. I couldn't figure it out, but is it self-energizing?
Mm-hmm.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay, I could not find it at all.
Yep, it surely is.
A typical drum brake backing plate has how many shoe support pads, also called ledges?
C.
Yep, 6 of them, 3 per shoe. Okay.
I'm on to question 10. Cup expanders used in some wheel cylinders to
C. C, is that what you said? Or no, is that what you, or is that
Yes, C.
not what you said, but that's what you say now? Okay, if that's not what you said, that's what you should have said. All right, where are we at?
Excuse me.
Did we do one?
Did we do one?
Self-energizing?
action uses the stopping power of one shoe. Okay, it's worded different. This was actually the servo action. It's asking what action helps one shoe increase application force.
So it's
to the
B?
other.
What's a
Yeah, it's a
different
different question though.
Oh,
Yeah. Believe it or not, it is a different question. Brakes on a dual servo drum type system are designated as what?
primary,
Primary,
secondary.
secondary.
Primary and secondary, yep. Okay. Okay, so star wheel adjusters use different threads, left and right-handed, for the left and right sides of the vehicle. Like B says, the ball controls the teeth of the star wheel adjuster.
Definition B.
They do have left and right-handed threads, that way you can unscrew it and it actually expands and contracts, so both of them
that's
are right.
both?
Mhm. Which lining does most braking on the leading trailing type?
Leading.
Okay?
It's like copying me, man. Technician A says that a disadvantage of drum brakes is that they require an adjusting mechanism to maintain the proper clearance between the shoes and drum. Technician B says that a disadvantage of drum brakes is that they pull the car to one side during braking under certain conditions, which technician is correct. Both.
Mm-hmm.
A vehicle with drum brakes on the rear will usually have blank brakes on the front wheel. It is.
Almost always. If it has drums on the rear, it's gonna have discs on the front. Again, unless it's 50 or 60 years old, then it's possible it has a four-wheel drum.
On non-servo brakes, which shoe does most of the braking and during forward movement of the vehicle?
Oh, we did this one already, didn't we?
And we did 8.
C.
Beta 6.
That one is A, I'm sorry. No,
Drum brake shoes,
we did that one already.
we did?
Mhm. 6.
No,
Number 9.
Oh, 9, yeah.
Drum
we
brake
did.
shoes.
All the above.
All of the.
All of them are possible, yeah, all right.
Automatic.
Automatic adjusters may be actuated by all of the following except for one.
Air pressure.
Air pressure.
Absolutely. Cable link lever, not air pressure. All right.
How long is this next chapter?
Are we doing another chapter?
It's almost 2:30.
Oh, we got a staff meeting at 2:30, so we're gonna do the chapter quiz in the book, and that's gonna be it for today.
Alright.
Cause I have to be in a meeting.
I'm gonna leave my book here.
Okay, we did one, right? Disc. Drum brakes can fail to slow the vehicle if driven through deep water, technician A says. Is that right?
Probably, yeah. Deep water.
Technician B says when the drum brakes get hot, the pedal will drop because the drum expands away from the shoes.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Technician A only.
Mm-mm.
Both?
Yep.
It's both.
Yep. Absolutely. The drum gets too hot, it starts to roll a little bit, pulls it a little bit away from the shoes, brake pedal's gonna feel a little lower. Okay, two technicians discussing drum brakes. Tech A says that the forward and rearward facing shoes are the same, and they can be installed in either position
No.
on any drum brake system. Obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Tech B says the longer line should always be placed toward the front of the vehicle.
No.
Either?
No, they're both wrong. I wouldn't call either one of those guys technicians.
Mm.
Guy A, guy B.
Yeah. Which part of the drum brake shoe contacts the ledges of the backing plate?
A.
Drum brake shoe contacts the ledges.
The nib?
The nib. The nib, yeah. Okay. We did 5 and 6. Mm,
6 was rear, right?
Yeah, Dual servo tech.
4 was
5 was
C.
6 for C. Okay,
Seven is A,
Four
right?
is C.
Huh?
What is four?
4 is B.
4 is B, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 should be A, right?
Yes.
Star wheel adjuster use different threads left-handed, we did that one. Both of those guys are good. Some adjusters can coil. Oh, yeah, we did that one already. That was C for number 9. All right. 2 texts discussing drum brake self-adjusters. One says a frozen star wheel adjuster can cause the brakes to lock up during or due to adjusting lever being unable to move the adjuster, causing the linkage to bind.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. The other guy says some brakes self-adjust when the brakes are applied rather than released. Well, we know B is right. What about A? Frozen star wheel adjuster can cause the brakes to lock up. Let's see if we can find that. You think that could cause the brakes to lock up?
Like
I don't know about
frozen,
that.
like stuck, or frozen from the temperature?
By frozen, they mean it's just, it won't move.
Stuck.
Yeah. They don't, sometimes when you hear that term in the automotive industry, it means something that's froze up or locked up, or it's not cold. Okay, where is the star wheel adjuster thing? Where's it talk about that? Anybody know? Yeah, because I don't know if A is right, but
Historical automatic adjusters used when non-servo brakes may be mounted on either the or chairman's shoe. These tests adjusters are when the brakes are applied, either the reverse.
Star wheel automatic adjusters on 1194. Oh wait, that's non-servo.
Yeah, I'm on the 1194, that,
doesn't say which type that does. Brake adjuster, star wheel adjuster. I'm not sure about that one.
Do you have the answer somewhere?
The only place
I
I
don't
see
know.
star wheel adjuster is on page 1194, not unless somebody else found it somewhere else.
There's a little bit about it on 93 as well, but I don't see anywhere where it says something about the brakes could be locking up. I'm just not really buying that. I'm gonna say that's just gonna be B on that one.
Well, wait a minute, well, let's see, on 1193, some servo brakes with cable actuated star wheel automatic adjusters have an over-travel spring assembly. In this design, the adjuster pulls mounted under the star wheel. The over-travel spring dampens. It also prevents damage to the adjustment mechanism if the star wheel seizes or is otherwise unable to rotate. The lever star wheel adjuster makes the adjustment as the brakes are applied rather than released. I don't know. I still don't see that particular.
Yeah, I don't either.
The trailing shoe non-servo adjuster shown for someone in the wing shoe. Yeah, no.
Okay, it just says it prevents damage to the adjusting mechanism if the star wheel seizes or is otherwise unable to rotate, which is gonna be the same thing as frozen. So we're just gonna go with B for.
I think I found it on 1192, the tech tip.
Oh, really?
Servo action enables, it doesn't say anything about frozen though, it says lockup. Servo action enables a drum brake to provide increased stopping power, but it can also cause the brakes to grab and lock if they get too far out of adjustment. As clearance between the shoes and drum increases, the primary brake shoe is all, damn I can't read, is allowed a greater range of movement. The further the shoe moves, the more speed it picks up from the rotating brake drum. At the moment, the slack is taken up between the brake shoes adjusting link and anchor. The speed of the primary shoe is converted into application force by servo action. If the primary shoe is moving too quickly, it will apply the secondary shoe very hard and fast, causing the brakes to grab and possibly lock the wheels.
So A is wrong.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Looks like it's just gonna be B for 10 then. Yeah, okay. All right. We'll finish what we can finish tomorrow, and again, we're gonna take this one more day into Monday because we're just not gonna. We'll just do both tests. Both, okay. Yeah, because there's only one, and just not gonna have all enough information.
How many questions?
Did I already tell you that or no? You said 40 questions. I did, right?